Right.
What was the most enjoyable moment when migrating to Rails?
Said this was live, right? I should probably have an answer for that. I'm not sure I could pick a most enjoyable moment. I mean, there was a long. I really actually enjoyed the long 36-hour day that I spent launching the site, just because it was the sort of the culmination of the process. So I'm not sure it was a favorite. We were very excited to see it up, and running live for real. And I spent a really long day, and I was sort of the only person on the team who spent the whole time there. Other people went home. Some people went to sit in line and wait for iPhones, and I just sort of sat there and watched it. So maybe the period in the early morning when I was practically the only person in the office just watching it run, I guess.
Okay. What is your biggest challenge in migrating to Rails?
Well, there are a number of big challenges. Biggest, sure, there was a lot of work. Obviously, there's a lot of work to get done. There are organizational challenges. For me, it's not really my strong suit. So I guess figuring out methods or rough techniques for getting stuff done and scheduling and keeping going. And personally, that was probably the most difficult stuff for me was the day in, day out of figuring out how much work was left to be done and how to schedule and how to keep it moving, and dealing with my own sort of dissatisfaction about the fact that I was writing so little code, since I'd kind of envisioned that I'd be able to participate more in the process, and instead I ended up managing a lot more than I expected to. On a technical level, if you intended to ask that question, I guess. Technically, what was most challenging for us was probably the part that we didn't do, actually. We did really get an excellent save from the performance evaluation team, who did a really great job of feeding load through the system and trying to figure out exactly how to lay things out. And I think I had a better answer for that at some point. In fact, I can sort of half remember that I thought of something last night that I wanted to say during the talk today, and I can't remember what it is. So maybe some other thing.
Have you looked at using any other virtual machines to speed up the...
No, not yet. We had a chart that we made. At some point, the dev team sat around a whiteboard, and we made a list of sort of common objections to doing this kind of thing. And performance was obviously one of the ones on there. I had spent a fair amount of time telling our CEO and talking to the board and saying speed of development is more important than overall speed of execution. Computers get faster, and it's much more important that we be able to launch new features that they run absolutely as quickly as possible. But having said that, it was one of the things that we thought was going to be an issue. So it was on our list of things we were concerned about, which includes, say, Unicode support and being able to find talented developers. And one of the things on there is VM speed, runtime speed. And I say, at least on site, I say I wish I had the Ruby language with the Python runtime. But there are at least 3 really interesting projects going on right now. People who are trying to solve that problem. So, most of our anticipated problems boil down to that. We could point to some project which we felt was going to take care of it for us.
And you, as the leader of the development team, where did you get your motivation, and which were your did you have any moments of weakness where you thought that we were not going to succeed?
That we weren't going to succeed all the time. No, actually, it was a wonderful project in that sort of professional fulfillment kind of way, where we were working on something that we really liked, and being able to make a big difference in corporate environment. And usually, I tell this to people occasionally, but I think it's really valuable to work to start out your career as a programmer working on existing applications in a way, because it teaches you how to maintain other people's code, how to read code, and how to deal with the constraints of a system that has a lot of invested momentum. But it also sort of teaches you to feel like you can't accomplish things, and that everything is hard, and that it's hard to shift the center of gravity. So it was exhilarating to be involved in really a startup style project where we were able to make a giant difference. And it was exciting for me when I realized that the development team, the people on the development team, had passed over to the point where they were starting to use the site we were building. Where we had all kind of avoided using the site to begin with. Frankly, we didn't like it that much, and it was a pain. And then there was a period where I noticed that people were starting, the 3 developers I worked with every day were starting to use the site for things. There's not just because they were testing it, but because it had passed some minimal level of acceptability and utility where they were happy to be using it. And that was a really good feeling. We had actually improved things to the point where these young hip kids who were out of development liked it. So
that's great.
That was cool.
Okay. And what's up for you next? What's your next challenge?
We have lots of other systems. I mean, it's a process for us continuing to shift. So, in our organization, I'm responsible for more than just the website. We have partner APIs and other applications that we work on. So we've had a few things coming up, and just a general. This was table stakes for us to get to the point where we could do the really interesting projects of dealing with tons of data and analytics and analyzing and processing massive amounts of data in large distributed clusters. So that's kind of what I work on these days.
That's wonderful. Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for.
That was John Stroh and Lisa Felter from Portland, GotThingsDone.com.